All right, so today we're doing two-step equations. Now with each one of these equations that we're going to do, we're going to be doing 3 steps. The first step is to isolate the variable by doing the opposite operations to both sides. And step 2 is we want to put our solution inside of a solution set. And then step 3, our last step, is to check the solution by substituting it back into the original equation. So the first one we're going to do from the classwork is number 1. It is 75 is equal to negative 5x minus 5. So for this equation, what I want to do is I want to isolate the x. I want to isolate this variable on the right side. But to do that, I'm going to have to get rid of 2 things. I'm going to have to get rid of this negative 5 right here that's being subtracted, and I need to get rid of this negative 5 right here that's in front of the x. It's being multiplied by the x. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the negative 5 at the very end, and the way I'm going to do that is by doing the opposite of subtraction. I'm going to be adding 5 to both sides. So I add 5 to both sides. And on the left side, I get 75 plus 5, which is going to give me 80. I bring down my equal sign. Over here, I'm left with a negative 5x. And the negative 5 plus 5 is going to give me 0. So I'm not going to write that, but I am going to cancel these out. So the last step I need to do is to get rid of this negative 5 that's out in front. That way, the x can be by itself on the right side. Since I'm multiplying negative 5 by x, I need to do the opposite of multiplication. I need to divide both sides by negative 5. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide the right side by negative 5. And if I do that to the right side, I have to do the exact same thing to the left side. I'm going to divide 80 by negative 5. So when I do that, what happens is the negative 5s cancel out, leaving the x. I bring down my equal sign. And then over here on the left side, I have 80 divided by negative 5, which is going to be negative 16. And that's going to be my answer. I put that inside of a solution set. Okay, so over here, what I want to do is I want to check my work. What we're going to do is we're going to be checking this solution, negative 16, by substituting it back into the original equation. So my original equation that I was given was 75 is equal to negative 5x minus 5. That's the original that they gave me. And the only thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to replace x with a negative 16. But I'm going to keep everything else the same. The 75 stays the same. I bring down my equal sign. The negative 5 out in front stays the same. I replace the 16, the x with a negative 16, and then I keep the negative 5 at the end the same. So now I'm going to follow order of operations on the right side. I need to simplify the right side. So negative 5 times negative 16 is going to give me 80. And I bring down my minus 5. Over here on the left side, I have 75. And now the only thing left to do is subtract the 5 from the 80. And when I do that, I get 75. And it's going to be equal to the left side. I get 75 is equal to 75. That is a true statement. A true statement. So when you get a true statement, you know that you chose the right solution, negative 16. If something was off about the statement, maybe I got a false statement, then what you would do is you would go back to where you did your original work over on this side, and you would just check to make sure that you did everything correctly. Okay, that is number 1. Let's check out number 3. So for number 3, I'm given 108. 108 is equal to negative 6 times b minus 8. B minus 8 inside parentheses. So what I want to do is I want to isolate the variable. And in this case, the variable is b. I want to get b by itself on the right side. So that means I need to get rid of two things. I need to get rid of the -6. I'm going to get rid of the -6 first. And then I need to get rid of the -8. I'm going to do that last. So to get rid of the -6, what I could do is I could distribute it to everything on this side, or I could divide everything by -6. And since I'm already multiplying everything by -6 over here, I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to divide both sides by -6. So that way, that'll get rid of the -6. So I divide both sides by -6. Once I do that, the -6 cancel out over here, and the b minus 8 is going to come down. And since there's nothing on the outside anymore, I don't need to use parentheses. Over here, I have 108 divided by -6. That is going to be -18. All right, so the last thing I need to do is I need to get rid of this -8 on this side. And the way I do that is by doing the opposite of subtraction. I'm going to add 8 to both sides. So I add 8 to both sides. When I do that, the -8 and the +8 over here are going to be canceled out. They're going to give me 0. I bring down my variable, which is b. I also bring down the equal sign. And over here on the left side, I have -18 plus +8. That's going to give me a -10. So -10 is going to be the number that gets placed inside the solution set. All right. Over here on this side, I'm going to check my work. I'm going to check my work. When we check, we always start off with the original equation that they gave us. And I was given 108 is equal to -6 times b minus 8. Now, the solution that I got was -10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace b with a -10, since they're pretty much equal, so they're the same thing. So everywhere I see a b, I'm going to replace that with a -10. Everything else is going to stay the same. So the only thing I did was I changed the b into a -10. And now I do all my math on the right side to see if both sides are going to be equal. I bring down my 108. I have a -6 on the outside. And on the inside, I have -10 minus 8. And that's going to give me -18. So now the only thing I have left to do is multiply on the right side. I multiply -6 by -18 to get a positive 108. And yes, that is a true statement. So it's pretty safe to assume that -10 belongs inside of my solution set. Okay. We're going to do one more, number 7 from the classwork. So number 7 is -5 plus v, -5 plus v, all over -14, all over -14 is equal to 1. So what I want to do with this equation is I want to isolate the variable. I want to isolate the v on the left side. But how can I do that? Well, first, I would have to get rid of the -5 right here. And then I would have to get rid of the -14 somehow as well. That way, the v can be on the left side by itself. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the -14 right here. And since I'm dividing everything by -14, I'm going to do the opposite of division. I'm going to multiply both sides by -14. So I'm going to multiply both sides by -14. When I do that, I put the left side inside parentheses, and I put the negative 14 inside parentheses. Over here on the right side, I need to multiply the 1 by negative 14 for this to work. So when I do that, what happens? On the right side, I have 1 times negative 14, which is just negative 14. But over here on the left side, I have a negative 14 in the numerator and a negative 14 in the denominator, the bottom of the fraction. So those two numbers are actually going to cancel out, just like I want them to. And I'm left with whatever I have in the numerator, the top of the fraction. That would be negative 5 plus b. Okay, so the last thing I need to do is get rid of that negative 5. How can I get rid of a negative 5? I can add a positive 5 to both sides. That would work to get rid of the negative 5. So when I do that, I add 5 to both sides. What happens on the left side? These two numbers are going to cancel out to give me 0. I bring down my variable and my equal sign. On the right side, I have all the math going on. I have negative 14 plus 5. That's going to give me a negative 9. So I put that inside of my solution set. Okay, so we're going to check our work over here. I'm going to start off with our original equation. Negative 5 plus v divided by negative 14 is equal to 1. So we're starting off with our original equation. And what I want to do is I want to substitute negative 9 in for v, because that's the answer that we just got. So I'm going to replace every v that I see with a negative 9, but keep everything else about the equation the same. So the negative 5 is going to stay the same. I replace v with a negative 9. I'm still dividing everything by a negative 14. And then that whole expression is still going to be equal to positive 1 on the right side. On top, I can do negative 5 plus negative 9. That's going to give me negative 14. I'm still dividing that by negative 14 at the bottom. And I should get 1. And indeed I do, because these negative 14s are going to cancel out to give me 1. So I get that true statement that I want. So that's how I know negative 9 is actually going to work for v. So negative 9 does belong inside of the solution set. So that's two-step equations. Usually you're going to have 2 steps to solve these. They're going to involve multiplying and dividing first, but sometimes the equations require adding and subtracting first, and that all depends on the context of the equation. So that's two-step equations, and I hope that helps.